Hello and welcome to the Hoop Troop Podcast. I am Matt O'Connor, and joining me as they do on all of our shows is my cousin Luke Drobner.
What's up?
And my brother Mike O'Connor. Luke clearly a little rusty since we haven't recorded in a while, or just distracted by the conversation about raccoons we were just having. But yeah, we are back in time for the NBA Finals. I know it's been a while since we've gotten on the mic here, but we... Fellas, the Knicks did it. They made the finals. Rematch of 99, the last time they made it there.
We did it.
Wemby just going for glory, or the Knicks getting back to the mountaintop for the first time in 50 years. It's just amazing. I don't even know where to start because it's been a while since we recorded. I feel like probably starting with the finals because it's the most relevant thing right now. But then I think we got to revisit our preseason predictions for the NBA. We got to hit it all. But want to start with the finals, and then we can get into the rest of that?
Yeah. What are you feeling? I'm just curious, because we have not really spoken. We've been texting a little bit, but, we've had a day. We've had more than 5 days to drink in the Knicks being there, but now knowing our opponent, it now feels a little real. So I'm just curious to hear what you guys think.
I personally think that this is a favorable matchup for New York, only because I think the matchups lean their way, and I think it's really contingent on that Mitchell Robinson injury, because we typically look at the Knicks and we say you have versatility that you can throw at him, so whether that is a Cat, Mitchell Robinson, like a true traditional big, or you go OG Anunoby, or you go, you're able to throw a little variability at him. And then, as good as the guards have been playing, and I mean, they are a huge reason they got out of the Western Conference, I just think you can live with the idea of, okay, if they're going to beat me from 3, so be it. Because really, none of those guards to me are fantastic three-point shooters. At least of the danger ones, whether it's Fox, Castle, or Harper. If they're going to be the off-ball threat next to Wemby, I can live with that. So I think if you're the Knicks, you look at this and you say, we match up pretty well. I think as long as Mitchell Robinson is able to play defense and even swat boards out, if he can do the Tyson Chandler rebound, I think the Knicks are in a good spot, but it's a huge if. And so if he's really unable to go or limited significantly, then that changes the conversation, because Huck Porty is not going to be able to handle Wemby. And I like Huck Porty, but it's not going to happen. So that's where I'm at. If I had to make a prediction, but I could save a prediction for later, I would pick the Knicks. I think that they are probably winning the finals, which is just an insane sentence. I cannot believe that's coming out of my mouth.
I don't know if you guys remember from Madden, but you used to be able to customize your player, and you could put a tape club on their hand. That's what I want Mitch to go out there with and just start clubbing things.
He's got to do the who was it? Jason Pierre-Paul after the fireworks, where you just had the oven mitt.
Yeah, you just exactly.
And that's it.
So,
but that's honestly. So here's my thought there. And Luke, correct me if I'm wrong. Mitchell Robinson, bad at free throws. Undeniably, probably the worst player in the NBA currently at free throws. Maybe try a granny shot? Maybe whatever. You're not...
Well, he's going to have to do one hand now, so...
The problem was you couldn't really leave him out there because of the free throws and the hack and Mitch. Well, it's not like he's getting any worse from the free throw line. So realistically, my thinking is you put him in there, you let him wreak havoc on the glass and on defense, and if they still do a hack and Mitch, which honestly, if you're a smart team,
they're 100% going to do it.
But then you yank them once they're in the bonus, and you let everyone else go and benefit from being in the bonus. So it's kind of how and honestly, credit to Mike Brown, he kind of played the Cavs a little bit twice in that series where they threw him in as bait to say, all right, go foul him, got in the bonus, and then they put Cat back in. And so I think you can use Mitch as a decoy and just as another body, go use your fouls, give Wemby some hell, and then let everyone else run.
My only issue is, and I think that many Knicks fans are conditioned to think about the worst case scenario, and are you also factoring in the idea that he goes out there for 2 seconds, a ball hits his arm, and he's it breaks again? I just think that's in play.
But if that's the case, then what's the difference of him, being out from the jump in this series? So, I don't know. If he ends up getting hurt, then you're back to square one anyway. I think him playing, even limited, is better than him not playing, even because you just psychologically need to prepare for that, and it's just a defensive adjustment they're going to need to make. Now, it could look awful, and the decision might have to be like, look, it's not worth it. We're going to have to go a different direction. Maybe you go small more. Maybe you know, like, I could see a lot of OG at the 5 minutes coming our way. And so I do... Go ahead.
You also think another factor for your reasoning... I mean, again, we're going to revisit the spreadsheet. And you were I would say, not to throw you on us, you were the driving factor for the Knicks even being our prediction to be the champion this year.
Yeah, I was. I believed in it.
You think another reason is our depth. I think our bench is just better than their bench, but I could be a homer. I don't know.
Again, and we can go up and down the rosters, but I still think they're a little bigger than we are, just generally speaking. They don't have anyone physically, defensively to throw at Cat that I think some of the other teams that we played against in the past few rounds have. Wemby's obviously big, but I think they're going to stick him on Josh Hart and let him be a rover. And if they do that, good. But if they do that, then Vassell is going to have to guard Cat, and that's, again, if you're going to play the hub offense that we unlocked, I don't really know how the Spurs can stop that.
They have guys off the bench like Harrison Barnes and Carter Bryant who are very willing to get physical.
I know.
Play
and
tough defense.
Luke Cornett, I guess, as well. I mean, that block he had last night was just amazing. I mean,
he's really down. Luke Cornett's very good. He could have started on some teams. He decided to be the backup in San Antonio.
The Knicks found him. Nick Legend. I mean, it was at one point it was him and Mitchell Robinson holding it down in the front court.
I've seen so many, like the Mitch and Luke Cornett.
The Mitch's block party. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was. I've seen so many of them.
I'd be happy for Cornett, but he can't win it now. Not allowed.
Well. Luke, are you a little bit more bearish on?
I like San Antonio. Obviously, what they're doing works. So they're hot. They just beat the defending champs. There's definitely a rust versus a rest factor.
I mean,
they're a young team.
The Knicks will
so
play 8 games in 34 days. That is crazy. I mean, for postseason rest, that's unheard of. So
yeah,
I get it. The Spurs are gonna have like 5 days. They're gonna have Saturday to Wednesday, or like essentially Sunday to Wednesday to rest. But
when it comes to like OG's hamstring or Josh Hart's bumped and bruised and blah 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 blah, sure it helps. But the Spurs are in a game mentality mode, right? They still have the killer instinct on them. So I think we need to come out and punch first. We can't allow them to come out and be the aggressor.
I think it's advantageous to have the rest, but to have had it twice now, where you had the 7 or 8 games off after the Sixers series, and then you have the 7 or 8 games off after the Eastern Conference Final. They came out flat after that Sixers series, and they were down big in Game 1 against Cleveland.
Yeah.
But I think you learn from that. I think they now recognize it, and I also think, and Mikal Bridges actually said it in a press conference, and I agree with it, something about being on the road in a hostile environment for a Game 1 in the NBA Finals, I think helps get you out of that complacency of being off for 8 days.
Sure.
So I don't think it's as much of a negative as it was, honestly, to start last round against Cleveland, which ultimately wasn't a problem. But I do think you're not going to go down 20 right off the jump. We didn't go down 20 right off the jump, right? I think both teams started slow. Yeah,
they were tired. We were rusty, and it was a slugfest. And then all of a sudden they blew it open, and then we were down 20. But that didn't happen until the third quarter.
Fair. But yeah, exactly. Didn't wake up until the fourth quarter.
And even then, there's a lot of subconsciousness to it, right? It's not like, oh, I know better, I'll be okay, right? There's the complacency sets in whether you want it to or not.
Right.
And that's right. And so we just need to take it one game at a time and breathe. But I like it. I think we have rotations, like Mike said, we have depth. They don't have the same amount of depth, right? They don't have the luxury of saying oh, well, Dylan Harper just doesn't have it tonight. We can play the next guy up, right? They don't have that luxury. If Dylan Harper doesn't have it tonight, then Dylan Harper doesn't have it tonight, and that sucks. But for us, it's oh boy, Shamit's not playing well. We can put Clarkson in, we can put Jose in, right? We got guys.
That's an impossibility. But Shamit is Michael Jordan after the last series and a half, basically. Are you kidding me?
I think Clarkson and Shamit together fill in that roster spot really well.
Yes, you can. Well, that's the thing about the Knicks bench, which obviously you're going. I think Deuce is the only Deuce and I guess previously Mitch, but they were the only sure things coming off the bench of you're guaranteed to get their minutes. But then then some combination of Alvarado, Shamet, and Clarkson would kind of fill in that bench depending on what personnel the other team was throwing out there and what was working and what wasn't. You could mix and match in a way that I felt like they were all playing pretty selfless basketball where you could turn to any one of them and it would work, which I think is so huge against this Spurs team because depending on, and let's face it, I mean, Wemby's going to have his 25 and 15. He just is. But I think it's whichever of those additional guards that get going for the Spurs, you have different combinations to say, all right, Harper's getting going. Who is the best guard that's equipped to guard him? That'll help us in this circumstance.
Yeah, it'll definitely be one of the starters, right? Like a Hart or a Michael, right? I think that's where we're going to start. But
right, I mean, realistically, and also, I mean, with Harper's probably the bad example. He's coming off the bench, but still, I mean, I think if it's Fox is getting going, like I think you're probably going to start off with, I'm imagining McHale on Fox and then Hart on Castle of the guards, and then stick Brunson on Champagny maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Brunson's not going to guard anybody important, so we know that, and
right.
We've seen that a lot.
I mean, the other thing, again, if you want because the way that I look at the Spurs is if you're going to have to live with anyone in that starting lineup shooting a three, it's Castle, and you're pretty comfortable with it, generally speaking.
Harper's pretty atrocious, too. He got lucky on some of the ones.
But that's my point, is I think, do you do kind of what you did with the Hawks in the first round where you put him, you originally were hiding him off of Dyson Daniels because of the physicality, but then everyone was just acknowledging, all right, we would let Brunson sag off of that, and if he shoots it, he shoots it. I think do the same thing here and let him sag off Castle a little bit.
Yeah, I can understand that, but Castle's a way more potent scorer, rim finisher, whatever you want to call it, than Dyson Daniels is.
He is.
He will destroy Brunson. Even like if you watch Oklahoma City, they were like, go ahead, shoot it.
Right.
And he wouldn't. And then he was taking guys like Caruso and Cason Wallace off the dribble and stuff like that. So
speaking of not shooting, Josh Hart is going to be a key in this series because I do think the defensive adjustment that most teams make, but the Spurs are definitely equipped to make, is to put Wembanyama on Hart and let him just sag off and then rove and just completely take away the paint. And if Josh isn't going to shoot the threes, because he is, I mean, he can get into his head a bit and then he's just so apprehensive. And even if it's just like the subtle pump fake, that's going to free them up to do so much defensively against the Knicks. And if he's not shooting, and missing is one thing, but not shooting, period, that's going to be problematic.
I don't know if the Spurs are in a defense where it's like Wembanyama is going to guard this player, right? The way they kind of line up is like Wembanyama is just going to stay low. They know that as long as Wembanyama's within 5 feet of the basket, we're going to be okay. And so if Hart lines up in the corner, Wembanyama's guarding Hart. But if like Mike Howell's in the corner or OG's in the corner, it's a different game, right? That's Wembanyama's mark now. So if Hart's up at the top, Hart's not going to be guarded by Wembanyama. I understand that's like how other teams guard us, but I don't think that's how the Spurs guard other teams.
Probably. Because again, I do think Wemby is so unique on defense, and there's a reason he was like the first unanimous defensive player of the year, which honestly is kind of crazy to me that hasn't happened before. But in any event, he's deserving of it. There's nothing like him on the defensive end, and I do think you're right. It changes the way you need to scheme a defense because you don't play it like a traditional team would play defense. You have that ability to kind of deviate and to sag off a little bit.
No, you treat him like a Rudy Gobert, right? You know Rudy Gobert is not going to guard someone out on the perimeter, so you kind of just like line him up where you want him lined up rather than thinking about a matchup.
On the perimeter. Like he is so unique in that way.
I could be crazy. Like getting a Brunson switch and getting him out on the 3-point line, I feel like is huge. I feel like we'd want that to happen.
That is 100%. Ultimately what you need to do.
1,000%.
You need to get him out of the paint, and then you need to run, like honestly, quick actions, back cuts, things like that if you want to open it up. But because otherwise, for him, is it like a stride or two for him to get from the 3-point line into the paint and actually alter shots? Like it's not going to take much for him to turn and get in there. So you've got to get him out on the perimeter as far as you can to open that up, or else he's going to clog the lane.
Yeah, Wembanyama also tries to block everything, right? If you get anything towards the rim, he's leaving his feet trying to block it, and you can also use that against him, right? I think you see it sometimes with like guys on our roster like Mitch Robinson when he was young, trying to block everything, and then that would leave like a wide open offensive rebound, or it would just be like one pass to a dunk or something like that, and you'd be like, why are you leaving your feet? So they're definitely still a young team. They definitely still make mistakes. So I think that's also important to keep in mind.
I think that's key. I think he's 7'6", and there's a lot of mileage on him, and had a really physical series. I just think, I think there were moments in the games where they lost where he was not taking a night off, but he was tired.
And 100%.
So
I don't think we're as physical as some of these other teams. Like Minnesota was legitimately like trying to push 1v to the ground. I don't think we play like that.
I agree.
Oklahoma City was the same way, and the Spurs started doing it back to the other teams, right? I think throughout the Minnesota series and throughout the Oklahoma City series, you see the Spurs getting physical back, and so
we'll
have to think about it.
The other thing I want to point out that I think that's a good point of looking at the previous series of kind of how both teams got to the finals. That, I mean, everyone defaults to say, oh, the Knicks had this cakewalk. Meanwhile, every step of the way, the pundits, everyone was taking the Hawks, then they were taking the Sixers, then they were taking the Cavs. Like, that is whatever. Fine. People are going to say the East was weak. Look at the path that, honestly, both the Thunder and the Spurs had to get to the Western Conference Final. Neither team really played anyone great.
That's how every finals is. I think you can discredit every finals run.
No, I know, but look at, for example, this Spurs run. I mean, they beat Portland, solid,
Minnesota, Oklahoma City.
But Minnesota was missing key players.
Anthony Edwards had a bad knee.
I mean, he was basically running on mush knee, and Dante DiVincenzo was hurt. And then you look at that Thunder series, and I mean, J-Dub and AJ Mitchell were both out for sizable parts of that series, and so. Credit to them, they made Chet a complete non-factor. Like, there were things they did right, but I do think that the same way that everyone's going to say, like, oh, well, they had to beat all these teams to get there. It's like, sort of. And, like, even the Thunder getting to where they got, I mean, they beat the Suns, which didn't scare anyone. They beat the Lakers without Luka and partially Austin Reeves. And then, they ran out of gas and they got hurt. Like, I just think any narrative here that I'm just getting ahead of this because I'm tired of it. That, oh, look at what the Knicks had to beat. No, everyone's better.
It'll always be the same
They're
thing.
Going to steamroll. That's nonsense.
It'll be the same storylines every year, right? Everybody has a Mickey Mouse run, and if you win it, you're not valid, and if you lose it, we all said you wouldn't win it, and we all hated on it, and blah 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 blah. What I will say about the Knicks run last thing, it was a cakewalk, 100%. Sixers were not the best team, right? Better team. I think the Celtics would have given us more problems. Cavs came out against Detroit. We didn't have to play the 2 seed or the 1 seed in the East, but we did have the most dominant playoff run statistically ever. So yes, it was a cakewalk, but it wasn't like we were struggling on the cakewalk. It wasn't like we had to win in 6. We blew these teams out.
Right.
They weren't as good as it wasn't as hard as it needed to be, but we blew the teams out that were there.
I agree. And even the 2 Hawks losses, I mean, they're by 1 point each. Like, it's just it took those last second shots by CJ McCollum to do that, and then you reinvigorated the offense as a result of it. So I don't know. But all right, so now that we're talking about winning and losing the finals, let's make some predictions, and then we can go ahead and take a look at our original sheet going into the year of where we thought things were going to shake out. And that's going to lead to, we're going to talk realistically down to the lottery, up to the finals, awards, not everything, pretty much everything. So who wants to lead first with what they think is going to happen in the finals here?
I mean, Knicks in 6. I want to say Knicks in 4 because I'm a Knicks fan, right? But I think if we're trying to be more realistic here as we put things down on the record, I'll say Knicks in 6.
Why?
Why?
I just think we are talking about this team. I think generally people are talking about the Spurs team like they are something that we can't beat.
The Spurs, I think every team is just another team. And so I think, obviously Wembanyama's proven that he is potentially a top 5 player in the whole world right now in year 3, which is incredible. But it's still a team sport, and the better team wins. Wembanyama definitely can change the course of some games, right? Like, there'll be a game where there's just nothing you can do, He's 7'4", he hit a bunch of 30-foot shots. What are you supposed to do, right? But I think if the Knicks play the brand of basketball they've been playing, we're incredibly hard to beat, right? if you're going to get 15 from OG and then you're going to get 15 from Mike Howell, it's both very efficient, right? Brunson does his things, Town does his things, our bench is contributing, everybody's playing together. Our defense, looks incredible. We're making, extra efforts on loose balls. We're a really tough team to beat, and I think that goes for every team, right? Like, if you play a high energy, physical to a limit type of basketball, you're going to win a lot of games, especially if you're shooting well and your offense is humming. So, Knicks in 6, just because I think we're playing great basketball right now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be actually excruciating. I don't know what's more excruciating, waiting until Wednesday. I feel like this has to happen. I can't keep sitting here stewing in it, kind of. I think it's going to be excruciating. I think it's going to be an uncomfortable, rough takeoff on the series. I think it's going to be tense. I also am going to go Knicks in 6 because I do think we're just deeper. I think there's something about being a little bit more experienced over the youth. And I do think outside of Wembanyama, we just match up really well. And the regular season doesn't matter. I mean, the Cup teams made it here. I think I believe in March we blew them out.
I was at the game.
Yeah, right. I think, and we beat them. It was tense in the Cup, but we won by 15. And then we were up by 18 and choked. And that was the beginning of our awful Bizarro Nick run in January. We were up by 18 and we lost by 2. So every game we've played against them, I think we've demonstrated that we can get up by 15. And I know the regular season's different. I think the Spurs are a different team than then. And I think we are a different team than then.
Right.
All those things considered, I'm still going to go. I'm just going to obviously double down as a homer to go Knicks. That's my reasoning. I'm but nervous, and I think it's going to be just absolutely grueling.
It's weird. It's weird feeling positive going into this, but I really do look at this the same way that I kind of looked at some of the previous series where I was like, I don't think it goes any longer than 6. I think the Knicks could win in 5. And honestly, just to kind of change it up from you guys, I'll say Knicks in 5. And it'll be a complete reversal of the 99 finals where the Spurs beat the Knicks 4-1. But I can't see a way where, barring Mitchell Robinson being truly, truly ineffective, this thing goes longer than 6 games. Because I just think the Knicks are better, the Knicks are deeper, they're more experienced, they have a little more versatility, and I don't know. As much as I believe in Wemby and I like this Spurs team, and I do think they're great, I think they're just undermatched. And I think this is going to be the ending of a drought. I think Brunson is going to have all sorts of statues in New York City.
I will cry. I'd cry.
Yeah. I think it's done. I think this is the year. And it had to be the year. We said it going into this year, which we'll use as a segue, but the East, everyone said coming in, the East is wide open with injuries to key players and whatever. The Knicks had to capitalize, and they have. Job's not finished, but they've capitalized. And now you're getting a young Spurs team. I mean, Wemby's only 22. Everyone else, that we've really largely talked about here is younger than him. So I think it's Knicks. I'll go in 5, and I'll see you guys at the parade.
Yeah, let's see if I make the parade.
So Luke, share. Let's do it. Let's get into our preseason predictions, make fun of ourselves, and celebrate ourselves for what we did do right.
We picked the Knicks as our finals champion.
Yeah, so we're still there, honestly.
Beating the Thunder.
Which, in all fairness, close. And we got the Eastern Conference right. We got Knicks Cavs.
Wow. Yeah, Jokic MVP, he was what, 3rd?
Yeah, he ended up being 3rd.
Cooper Flag Rookie of the Year is pretty obvious.
Yeah.
I think we all picked Wemby to be Defensive Player of the Year, which,
we did.
Most Improved was Andrew Nemhard. Who won Most Improved this year?
Let me pull up the...
Alexander Walker.
Walker. He was really good this year. 6th Man of the Year, we voted Josh Hart in.
I know.
But it was Keldon Johnson. Josh Hart started 70 games.
I know, I didn't see that coming.
Who do we think was going to start?
Also, laughing at our Coach of the Year pick is
got fired. But we also had Orlando Magic in 2nd. So,
also, what were we? We were very into the Bucks. That was so stupid.
Clutch player of the year was Anthony Edwards and scoring champ Giannis.
I thought that was going to be hollow stats.
I had the Bucks in at like 14 or something like that.
You did. You were on.
And I was like, they're a Giannis injury away from being absolute garbage.
Well, you got like 3 Giannis injuries and a lot of Giannis drama. So yeah, that just absolutely torpedoed their season.
Also, something else that's interesting, we had the Knicks in at 3. So I know this wasn't the order, but
yeah, inexact, but we almost got there.
Hawks were 6. We had them in at 5 here. So
yeah, I mean the Celtics at 7. That's a pretty far off. Honestly, the Celtics and Magic just basically flipped.
We didn't understand the impact of Concanoopel on the Charlotte Hornets.
No,
and they made the play-in for the first time ever.
And I didn't expect the Raptors to be as good as they were.
That's true as well.
11. Portland,
I think their defense has changed.
Snuck in.
Portland, we're not too far off on. Portland ended up being 7.
I was way too bullish on the Clippers for us, which threw us off. The Warriors, man, what a miss.
Yeah, I mean, the Warriors were also very similar to the Clippers, where like my feeling was the Clippers will do like just enough to get in, whereas like the Warriors, if something goes wrong, then they're just going to give up.
It's funny how far off we were on best record. We thought it was going to be Cleveland. I mean, they were not even close.
I think they had a lot of momentum finishing up last year and then like pretty much running it back. But then they ended up trading Garland mid-season and things kind of fell apart. So
yeah.
I wonder why we didn't like OKC for that. I can't remember why we wouldn't have thought that.
We just zigged while they zagged. I think we were thinking weak East.
East was East. Yeah, weak East.
Is my only guess. But yeah, clearly wrong considering the Knicks are on the road to start this series against the 2 seed in the West. But it is what it is. Wow. All right, we weren't all that bad.
No, it wasn't terrible.
And then we thought the Jazz were going to have the first pick. They got the second. We were close.
Yeah.
They
worst record, Brooklyn Nets. Were they actually the worst?
No, the Wizards. The Wizards were the first team in since they fixed these lottery odds to stay at 1, which is just crazy.
What do you think? What do you think Denver does?
I think they're going to have to get off of one of probably. I mean, honestly, because it's expiring. Probably Cam Johnson's contract. And also, he wasn't tremendously effective for them. Christian Brown is another one that I don't know if you try and trade him because he has a big contract. But I think you want to try and make room to keep Watson just because he played really well, and I think he's a good compliment. And if you don't give him one of those same albatross contracts that you gave those guys, it might make a little more sense. But I don't know. Like they have a lot of questions. They're still good, and honestly, if like Aaron Gordon got hurt, I think they would have been more of a threat. Like they just, to me, they botched that a little bit.
I think they have pieces, but I think they're going to have a schematic adjustment.
I mean, there was a period of this season where I was like, uh-oh, they are a freight train. And Jokic missed a lot of time, which I think hurt with their seeding. Like I think they probably would have been higher up in the standings, which maybe that leads to better matchups, and maybe they do go a little further. Maybe guys do get healthy deeper in the postseason, but not the way it goes. I do just think as long as you have Jokic, you're going to be competing. You're going to have to be.
And I think Jamal Murray, like the 2-man game there, is potent. So if they get stuck in like a half-court offense set type of stuff, I'm very comfortable with it. But I think when you think about like Peyton Watson and Christian Brown and guys like that, and having these athletic wings alongside some of these other guys, I think it could be a lot.
Yeah.
Obviously, Aaron Gordon's come a long way with his shooting too. So like if you do move on for Cam Johnson, which I think was supposed to be like a more perfect fit Michael Porter Jr., you can,
I thought that was going to work.
Make up that shooting.
I was really high on that move.
I thought so too, but I think like your tendencies change. I think we see with Mike Coward when he first came to New York, we were like, what the heck? Like the shooting isn't right, and this isn't really what we were looking for. This wasn't what we thought he was, but it just takes time to mesh, I think. So it's unfortunate that to move on from someone so quickly, right? Whether it's Cam Johnson or Christian Brown, they have to move on. If they want to keep Peyton Watson, I guess. But it's like...
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the hard part is in an ideal world, you're thinking of how things are going to gel. And, like, on paper, it might work the second it's actually in practice. And Cam Johnson missed time. He was injured. Like, honestly, they just had too many guys miss stints that I feel like they didn't get any cohesion So then come playoff team time, even if they weren't banged up, which they were, I just don't think they would have had that continuity that you need in the postseason.
Yeah, continuity definitely helps. Definitely, like, it just takes time to gel. I think if they made a better financial decision or something like that, they might have been able to keep what they have right now together without having to give anything up. And I think obviously that would have made them even stronger than they are right now. So
I just think they're a little stuck cap-wise, so it's going to be hard for them to improve, which is why I don't envision them making any giant moves that like drastically impact their future. I think it's more going to be, all right, moves around the edges, how can we fine-tune this thing? Because you are a little stuck, and there's not a hell of a lot you can do, and you got to just rely on the fact that you have one of the best players in the world. I guess I can't say it's him anymore, considering Wembanyama is doing what he's doing. But yeah,
I'd still consider guys like Jokic to be ahead of Wembanyama. There's a lot of things that Wembanyama isn't perfect about that I think Jokic would probably win in a 7-game series.
Speaking of what do? What do you do if you're Cleveland? Because, look, I mean, you made it to the conference finals, you got there, and then you got crushed. You struggled through your first 2 series. So, if you're in their shoes and you're looking at, all right, we aged our roster drastically by trading Garland to get James Harden, who I think you have to re-sign now, just realistically. You're not making that move unless you're planning to keep him. And then the rest of your core... At what point are you going to say, like, maybe this
What pick was Evan Mobley? He was 3 or 4? Or...
Yeah.
He was 3?
I think he was 3. I have Tankathon.
A couple years ago.
Let me go back to past drafts in Tankathon.
I think he... So, like, you draft him, whatever you draft him at, really high. And you kind of expect him to be, like, this franchise cornerstone type player. And now that we've seen Evan Mobley for a little bit, we can say Evan Mobley is very good. He's an all-star level player. He's going to be all defense. He's going to, potentially be all NBA type of guy. But he's like the Anthony Davis to someone's LeBron still, right? Like he doesn't take the ball and score a bucket at will, right? You got to run a play for him. You either throw him a lob, you have to get him to post up. He does putbacks. That's kind of how he scores. And I just think when you draft a guy like 3 or 4 and you want to build around him, you need him to be like a Luka Doncic or something like that. And I think that's tough. And which is why I think it's so sad that they gave up on Garland before they gave up on Mitchell, because Garland was probably a better fit as a point guard next to Mobley.
I think you're spot on. And they were on a similar timeline. So to me, that just doesn't... It never made sense to me. I understood you wanted someone that can set the offense a little better than Garland. Like, I understand that Garland and Mitchell were a little redundant in the way that they played, whereas Harden, I think, is a little bit more... He could actually get your 2 bigs involved, and maybe you were trying to think, hey, let's try and mix it up that way and try and actually lean into using both Mobley and Allen. But I still just think... I think as long as you have the 2 of them down there, it's not going to work. I just think that offense is too stagnant. You don't have enough guys who can versatily create offense.
I just think if you want
to make a big move, I think you have to change it up pretty significantly here.
I think you just, my personal feeling is like you build things up and then you let things die. So I don't think you need to make a move, and you just to be like content with the fact that you're going to get bounced from the playoffs and you probably won't win a championship with this team. And that's because you kind of shot yourself in the foot where, you traded a lot for Donovan Mitchell. I forget exactly what that trade was, but I know they gave up a lot of picks and players, and so
that's Danny Ainge special. But
right, and that's probably why they decided to give up on Garland. They were like, we can't have all this sunk money in Donovan Mitchell and then give up on him. But I think
hypothetically,
Harden is good. Harden is the point guard you would want next to a Mobley. He's just 35 now, 36.
Yeah, that's the problem. Is it just you changed your timeline that dramatically?
If it was like a 29-year-old prime James Harden, like you'd be in the finals every year.
Right. Hypothetically, because this has been just circulating, I feel like everywhere. I mean, do you have any interest in potentially investigating a Mobley for Giannis type move with whatever other small pieces involved and whatever?
Yeah, you could. If the Bucks are interested, why not? Right? Like, you're not obviously like whatever Mobley's full potential is, you're not going to achieve it anymore, in my opinion. So if the Bucks are like, oh, we'll take Mobley, we like Mobley, sure, right? Because Giannis now fits your timeline with Mitchell, who's also like 30, and Harden's obviously a little older and wants to compete. So
it's just crazy to me. How do you age your entire team by 10 years like that? Like, it's just, and I get it, you're going all in, but that is a hard pill to swallow. But it doesn't matter if you win. So
it doesn't matter if you win, and like with the updated lottery odds, like your picks are worthless no matter what. So
they are and they aren't. They're pretty valuable because if
they're just absolutely awful, it's like we can't draft anybody because all our picks were traded, were swapped for something because we traded for Mitchell and we traded for Giannis and we traded for Harden. So like we don't own our own picks and we can't bring talent in through the draft. Free agents aren't coming to Cleveland. I'm sorry, right? Like LeBron even said it. He's like, I went to Miami because I could convince someone to come to Miami. I went to LA because I could convince someone to come to LA. But when I'm playing in Cleveland, I couldn't get anybody to come to Cleveland, right? And now you're awful at the bottom of the league. Like, what's going to happen, right? You're going to get relegated every year by the draft, and you're going to get stuck in no man's land. And eventually, your picks will come back to you, and maybe things will turn around. But I mean, I think Cleveland is.
That's why it's so hard for me to say to them, like, really. Like, I mean, if you accelerate your timeline that dramatically, you are flirting with being in that no man's land for a long time. And so, if you keep it younger, at least you know what you have. Maybe you can build on it. But
would you rather be like, a play-in team for 5 years, or would you rather just be like so god awful that it hurts for 5 years? Like we say, like no man's land, but what really is no man's land?
With the new odds, you'd rather be a play-in team, hypothetically, or like just outside of the play-in. Realistically, give me the 3 balls, but
sure.
I mean, yeah, this is the worst time to be absolutely garbage.
Right, I would want to be the 11 seed in my conference, so not outright tanking, but doing just enough. And that's what I think these new lottery odds, which I guess is now a good segue. We can talk about these a little bit. I think teams are going to try to load up on their roster, and then I think we're going to see a lot more action on the trade deadline because teams are going to try and get out and win a good amount up front and then just keep pace. So I think your target range is probably going to be somewhere at like 32 wins or something like that because I think that's pretty safely out of the bottom 3, and then just few enough that you're not going to start creeping in and thinking about the play-in. So if you can rattle off before the trade deadline 24 wins, and then you sell someone off to a good team that wants to go win, and you say, all right, we'll tank now, and now like maybe we selectively need to win a few games here or there, but then we can tank. Like I think it's more just going to be like those middle teams are going to try and lose. So that's my prediction with it. I don't love any of these new rules. I think that it's ridiculous. And it's honestly too much power for Adam Silver, who already I feel like is just like, I don't know. I don't love the way that he's running the NBA. But, so that's why I just think we'll see what happens.
I think anti-tanking reform should have had something to do with like revenue sharing, right?
Yeah.
Don't penalize picks and, now teams will get stuck in no man's land. But like, if you want to be bad, if you want to tank, you're going to get less money at the end of the year. Right? And so teams will have to make that decision, right? Like financially, your owner will have to say, yes, tank, we're going to lose a little bit of money, we'll draft a guy, and then we'll be okay. But, right, there could have been like that's de-incentivizing economically.
Because the fines they already have in place, and I know the Jazz got hit with one, and like a few different teams were.
But it was a couple $100,000, wasn't it? It was like nothing.
Which to these owners is nothing, and so it's not actually going to hurt their wallet. They would spend that fine. Think about it, if you could buy the number 1 pick, how much would you buy it for if you're one of those owners?
Lot.
So you would have to make it hurt more than hypothetically saying, all right, that's how much I'm spending to land the number 1 pick. So
yeah, I mean, if you think about a guy like Luka. You don't even have to win games. Yeah. You don't even have to win games. But the opportunity to draft a guy like Luka and the revenue he generates, jersey sales, advertisements, ticket sales, all this stuff, right? TV revenue, right? Like, there's a financial breakdown to that. There's like I'm sure there are actuaries who work at these teams that evaluate this.
Definitely. And that's why. I just think that's the only way you're really going to stop it. And now you're going to see a different version of tanking. You're going to see selective competitiveness, which is almost more of a problem.
Well, that's what tanking, that's the problem was, right? It wasn't like, oh, teams are just really bad.
Yeah.
It was like teams are trying to lose, and now teams are going to try to lose more selectively, which is
right.
Which
you're
was
going
the
to look
problem.
at where you are in the standings and say, okay, we got to win this one, we got to lose one, we got to whatever, and it's going to be like, okay, maybe you're not doing the every night someone has a fake injury, but you're still going to be doing that, and you're going to be all you're going to be doing is everyone was watching the standings and seeing, all right, how much can we lose? You're still going to be in that same thing, but you're going to be like, all right, how can we win just enough to be in the Goldilocks zone? Because honestly, if you were the, I'll say it, the 9 or the 10, wouldn't you rather fall to 11 and have a shot at getting number 1 than be in the play-in and have a certain matchup with either the 1 or the 2 seed where you're going to get sent home? Like, I can't imagine that any of those teams are going to be intentionally winning. And honestly, if you're sitting at 11, you're not thinking, oh yeah, I got to be in the play-in. Unless you're a team that was like plagued with injury early in the season that actually has a chance at winning the finals and is trying to now win to get in, you would want to lose. And so I just think you're incentivizing now a different tier of teams to start trying to lose. And then you're going to have the worst teams in the league trying to win, which like maybe they're not able to. So I just don't know what this solves.
I also feel like the play-in should just be the 7 and 8 duke it out for who's 7 and 8.
At this point, yeah, realistically. Although the playing games were fun this year, but no, I agree with you. I just think like with this reform and how you actually have some of those teams that are in there losing in the 9-10 game that actually qualify for this, like it's going to run into the teams that are just not going to be trying in those. It's what's going to end up happening, so why are we bothering? That's at least the way I look at it.
I thought, like, Trey, I understand it went to a vote and it passed, but 29-1, 29 teams said yes, we like this. And the only team that said no was the team that got screwed the most.
I know.
I think it was you who said it, or maybe it was one of
the... Yeah. So the Grizzlies,
I think
the Grizzlies have the Jazz pick from the Jaren Jackson trade.
Jaren Jackson, right.
The Jazz have picked in the
are
top
relegated.
5
They can't have a top 5 pick.
Can't have a top 5 pick next year. And so, not that they're necessarily shooting for it, but the Jazz are going to try and win next year with the roster they put together. So they might fall into that Goldilocks zone and have 3 balls, and then suddenly that pick won't convey because of this now arbitrary set of rules that was put in after a trade was made. Like, I just think the fact that no one is doing some sort of grandfathering in or any sort of process like that makes no sense.
I think I was talking about it with another one of my friends, and he said, if you're an owner and you get a vote here at the table, why would you vote no? Adam Silver's made you more money than you can imagine. Why would you not vote yes to Adam Silver? And so I think that's kind of what happened. And I think the Grizzlies voted no, obviously, because like out of all 30 teams, they're the team that gets screwed the worst.
Right.
So they made a really savvy trade picking up that Jazz pick.
Yeah, and now it might mean nothing.
Right. So especially because they traded a guy who they drafted thinking would be a franchise cornerstone and was, and probably could have been if, right? If the Grizzlies knew their pick would be worthless, he'd probably still be a Grizzly.
Right.
So, and the Grizzlies would have been better, right? They would have competed and they would have played games, but.
And it's not to say that pick is 100% worthless, but if we did that exercise right now with the Excel sheet of trying to figure out where everyone's going to end up next year, like, I don't think that the Jazz are necessarily cracking the top 8 in the West, so like they might be in lottery position.
Jazz have a lot to figure out. They're going to play 3 centers and Ace Bailey and Keontae George.
They're going to be fun, but are they going to be any good? That's more my thing. Is just I don't know. I don't know what the solve is here. But yeah, so that's our lottery reform segment.
They might block a lot of shots.
Yeah, but no, I do. I just think it's everyone that's bad is disincentivized from being bad.
I think.
No, Luke, go.
I think everyone's being incentivized to keep their own assets, right? It doesn't make sense to trade your picks. It doesn't make sense to go hunt free agents, right? It makes sense for you to like draft guys you believe in, sign them to fair deals, build a culture, win a lot of games, things like that. I think that is kind of
Yeah.
which is great. I think if every team did that, I think the NBA would be better. But I think there's probably ways to incentivize that and build that NBA better than the way we have so
I think
far.
everyone is eventually going to find the loopholes in the system, the same way that they did with this current one. And so
The Knicks do it all the time, yeah. Financial rules and stuff. Yeah.
Everyone is going to find a way.
The Pacers got burned in this lottery, and there's something to be said about that. It's really interesting. There's going to be more of teams getting burned like that.
Right.
And to Luke's point, it's going to discourage you from doing anything antic-y.
You're not going to trade picks. You're not going to, there's no point in trading, Anthony Davis for all the Lakers picks. There's no point in doing that anymore.
Yeah.
Probably. So
right?
speaking of drafting, and since we're talking lottery and everything, so the lottery was done. Want to just have a hypothetical on who you think goes first to the Wizards here?
I think no.
Or are we too early? Are we too early? Are we not doing our draft special yet?
I think there's no doubt if you don't pick Dibanso 1, you're an idiot.
See, it's so funny because I feel like everything that I've been reading and seeing is that there's no consensus number 1.
Wow. It's got to be the Wizards taking him.
Because apparently it would have been Darren Peterson going into the season, and then he had all the cramping issues and everything like that, which apparently are solved. But then I'm reading other things about how Cam Boozer is just such a floor raiser. Like, I'm almost
I truly believe Cameron Boozer is the best player in this draft. He has a high ceiling. He's a great player. He wins at every level. He makes his teammates better, so on and so forth. If we were picking purely off talent and the future, Cam Boozer won easy, no thought. But when it comes down to it, like here we are talking about drafting Evan Mobley, right? You draft Evan Mobley at 3. He's a great player, but he's probably the second best player on a team. He's not creating his own offense. He's not, dishing out 8 assists a game, right? He's not doing that. And so you have to pick a guy who can potentially do that, like a Darren Peterson or AJ Dibansa. And I think when you think about AJ Dibansa, he's 6'9" and scores the ball at a high level and carried a BYU team the whole year after their second best player, Richie Saunders, was out for the season with injury. So, you see it, he's very good. And I think, sure, if Peterson fits on your roster, draft Peterson, same type of thing where, he could probably carry a whole offense by himself. And that in the NBA is just too valuable not to draft first. And that's why Cam Boozer won't be the first pick. Not because he's the worst. He's not better than the other two. It's not because he isn't worthy of the first pick. It's just I don't see him being this offensive hub that you need to be as a first pick or a second pick or a third pick or whatever. Which is fine, fair. Right? Why not? Chet got drafted second, right? Chet's not amazing, right? Mobley got drafted third, right? Here we are talking about Mobley, right? These are great players that we're talking about. There's no knock on Cam Boozer. It's just that's you got to draft a Luka over a Marvin Bagley.
I do wonder too, just with where the Wizards are. I mean, with the trades they made during the season, I don't know what they're going for. Obviously, Dibansa is probably the best fit of these players with Trae Young and Anthony Davis and the remainder of the roster. But are you drafting for fit? Or are you drafting best overall? I think you still just have to take, however you view it. But I think if you think Peterson is better than Dibansa, even though you have Trae Young, you still have to take Peterson. I just think when you're picking first overall, you can't just go off of fit. No?
No, you have to go over, best overall player.
Right.
And if you think about, the more surefire pick, it's going to be, the tall, lanky athlete who can dribble and shoot and all this stuff. And that's Dibansa, right? He's 6'9". He shoots the ball well. He scores a lot of points. The defensive potential is probably a little higher than Peterson just because he's 6'9", so on and so forth.
The scary thing for me is the Thunder sitting at 12 and 17, and they're almost certainly not using both of those picks. So Lord knows what they're going to do with it.
We'll see. I think it's similar like the Knicks. The Knicks, we have a lot of free agents coming up, and maybe we're hopeful to re-sign them, but maybe we can't afford them, and we have to draft someone to fill in that spot. Oklahoma City could do the same thing, where it's we can't re-sign Cason Wallace, so we got to draft a guy here at 12 or whatever.
Well, that's Hartenstein, I think, is a player option this year. and they have a decision to make. Like,
well, they drafted Sorber last year, so
yeah. Which I mean, no one knows the progression he's made because they haven't had to play him. So like, right. You know, I just think there's too many variables on that, and
yeah, I still think he's coming back from a torn ACL, so I don't think he would have played this year no matter what. Yeah. But they drafted him under the impression that he would eventually step into some type of role.
Right.
So,
or do you just say screw it and trade up and you get either Boozer or Caleb Wilson or someone of that ilk of just a general big?
I think in this loaded draft class, you know, where like you see the top 3 guys and you're like, wow, and then you see the 4th guy and you're like, wow, and then you see, you know, like 5 through 14, and these are also really good players. I just don't think that 12 and 17 moves you up past like 6.
Yeah.
And at 6, like, yeah, you could draft a great player at 6, but like, is that what the Thunder want? Is that what the Thunder need? So
that Arkansas guy,
Acuff.
Acuff. No, relegate him to Sacramento. Send him to Doom. Yeah. I'm sorry.
As of right now on Tankathon, they have him going to Brooklyn at 6.
Huh.
Which they're another one that you just take best available and and hope. I mean, they got hosed by this lottery. I mean, falling again is just brutal for them. But deep drafts.
Yeah, I mean
they
just drafted 5 guys, so
right.
I think falling to 6 and then kind of like saying, who do we want, right? Like, there's probably a couple guys who could get drafted at 6, so I'm sure they're doing their due diligence and they're going to get the guy they need. But, I mean, I personally think the Wizards at 1 that's probably like a nightmare scenario for them, right?
Probably.
I don't think they have any direction. Why do you trade for these guys and then?
Well, and all the rumors you're seeing is that they're probably looking to trade Anthony Davis again anyway. So
you brought in Anthony Davis. You gave up assets to bring Anthony Davis in, and then you're going to have to probably give assets up to get him out.
Right. It made no sense at the time. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing, and they got rewarded for tanking.
But, like, if the
irony of that.
If they just stuck with the plan, right? If you like look at their roster and the young guys they have, and then you get a top 3 pick, top 4 pick, does that not bode well for them? Like, if you just like, because the top, like, no matter who you draft in the top 4, Caleb Wilson, Cameron Boozer, Dibansa, and Peterson, I think they all fit on that roster, right? Yeah. Like, right now, like, Sarr and maybe Keontae George are the only ones that I see like these guys are going to be starters for us for a long time. But right, and
yeah, I'd say I agree with that.
And so, like, they could have drafted any of the guys in the top 4, and they would have been set. They just need to start winning games. They need to start building culture and like moving forward with the process.
I do think now that probably happens, but who knows? I mean, again, and also for them now, you look at it and you're like, okay, well, we're not trying to come in last, but also if we don't make the playoffs and we're not good, like, we're going to fall in the Goldilocks zone. I think their roster is built for the new rules. They're going to get another good pick, realistically.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I look at Charlotte and I see them as like the golden child of like, you were bad for a long time and you like finally got a competent front office and you put a direction in and you know stuck with it and now you're succeeding, right? Like, they legitimately have a good culture in Charlotte. They had a great season, so
yeah,
you know. The Wizards, to me, I know, Mike, one of your friends, right, Pat, he's a Wizards fan.
A big Wizards fan.
I don't know if he listens to the podcast.
Definitely not.
But I feel for him. I feel for him, you know.
I think there's
reason to believe.
They're similar to us in that I think we're pretty delusional people. They're always believing, I mean, they still ride high on like the John Wall days. I think they really do, and that meant a lot to them. And I think they feel like they can get back there through the draft.
That was like us when we had Carmelo Anthony, and we were like, wow, you know, this really means a lot to us. And then that era left, and then we had Barrett, and then we're like, why are we signing Fournier, and why are we bringing in Randall? And
it worked.
So I think they can do it. I do question the whole, like, are Anthony Davis and Trae Young even going to be on the team by the end of this year? I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, it feels strange. But I think, listen, if I were in their position, a first-round draft pick in this draft is hope. You have to
easily. Yeah, I mean, you're not going to make a bad... If you're in the top
I think
four,
the Trae
you're not
Young
making a
trade
bad
was good.
pick. I don't think you're making a bad pick if you're in the top four.
No.
Like, you might pick the wrong guy, but you're still going to have a guy that's good. Like, truly, like, helps your team get better into the future and is a cornerstone on your roster. So, I think any of those top four, you're smiling ear to ear. And you're saying... Like, even if you're the Bulls at 4, you're like, all right, whoever is sitting there at 4, I'm taking. Because I do think after Caleb Wilson, it's a little bit of a drop-off. But...
I like the Louisville point guard, Michael Brown. He's pretty good. I think he had some injury troubles.
Yeah.
He could potentially be the second best point guard in the draft if Darren Peterson is a point guard. So I think there's a lot of point guards in that area. Like, yeah, I think there's a lot of talk about like Keaton Wagler and Kingston Flemings, and those guys weren't. Kingston Flemings was a big recruit. Keaton Wagler wasn't, and Darius Acuff was, but I think the Louisville guy was projected to go higher than all of them.
See, and that's kind of my point, though, is that variability there in 5 to 10 or whatever you want to call it. Now there's a logjam of guards. Like, you don't run into that problem if you're in the top 4. You kind of know your top 4.
No, yeah, the top 4 is the top 3.
Top 3
is head and shoulders is better than everybody, and then number 4, Caleb Wilson, who I think is consensus number 4, is obviously a little bit better than the rest of the lottery guys. So
right.
Someone in the 8 to 14 my arch nemesis in like the second round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. I just know.
Yeah, someone's getting drafted by the Heat, and we're gonna hate them.
Yeah, and just hate them forever because they have a personal vendetta with Brunson and go like toe to toe.
Somehow, for no reason.
I think what's interesting about this year's draft is all the NIL. So it's like one of the least active early entrant drafts ever. And then even after the combine, right, all these guys met with teams and worked out and took interviews and things like that. And so they kind of were like, oh, I'm not getting drafted where I want. And then they went back to school. So I think there's a lot of talent in the draft, right? Like, the only players that stuck around are the players that felt, one, they couldn't go back to school, or like someone's going to draft me at a spot where I'm comfortable. So I think no matter where you're drafting, 1 through 60, you're going to get a quality player who fits your culture. And so I think that's good. But also, like, there were like 1,000 people in the draft 3 years ago before NIL, right? And now there's like a couple hundred. So it's like
different.
200 or 300. I think
it's changing everything. But now
it is 100%.
With the new lottery odds and everything, I mean, you're going to the way that players approach the draft, obviously looking at the teams, but then if you could conceivably get drafted to a better situation, you might be more inclined to jump in.
Right, yeah, and I think a lot of guys late
if you're
late in the first round can say,
9,
I'm not even thinking like lottery. I'm thinking like, I'm Terrace Reed from UConn, and I'm projected to get drafted somewhere between 20 and 40. If I'm a junior and I don't like the team who's telling me they're going to draft me, I'll just go back to school.
Right. Which, a lot of people are doing it. Right, and
I think that's good too. And I also think these late first round, early second round picks are going to become more and more important.
Oh, yeah.
If you think about like the guys we've seen recently, like a Jalen Brunson, very important player nowadays, early second round pick, right? Ryan Kalkbrenner, who I felt had an amazing season, early second round pick, right? So you're going to see guys like that.
And look at the finals right now. I mean, the Knicks have, honestly, a good chunk of their roster is second round picks. You look at Mitchell
100%.
Robinson, Deuce McBride. I mean, obviously Brunson you mentioned, but like a lot of these guys weren't first round picks. Kolek, of course. You can't forget him. But yeah, you get my point.
Diawara, right? He played big minutes for us this year, so he was a second round pick. He was a late.
We do have a number one overall pick. We have a few lottery picks on the roster, but that's fine.
Yeah, no one needs to know I think the deepness of the draft, and especially for a team like the Knicks, if you think about, or like any team that has a star and an identity, and you're picking 26th, like that's a valuable pick nowadays. So,
oh yeah. All right. Is there anything else we want to hit on before we wrap this one up? Just Knicks in 5, Knicks in 6 for you guys, but
Knicks in 6. Come on, Knicks in 4. I went to go watch the game 7 at a bar yesterday,
Yeah.
and that was pretty crazy. And everybody was screaming for the Spurs, and then they're all like, Knicks, let's go Knicks. So
That's funny. I was expecting most people to root for the Spurs because it's just fun, the fun young team with Wemby. There was that part of me that was like, if the Thunder won, at least the whole country would be rooting for the Knicks because everyone was tired of their flopping nonsense. So I know
there's a lot of anti-OKC sentiment out here in Seattle because there's a lot of feelings that the team was stolen from Seattle.
Well, they were.
The guy bought the team. He said, "I promise I won't move the team," and then he moved the team.
Gone right away. Gone.
Yeah,
I know. Well, you'll get the Sonics back soon.
Yeah, expansion will be good. I think Seattle's a little lucky they don't have a team right now because if they did, I'd be at the Knicks game heckling them behind the bench.
You'd be one of those.
Oh yeah, I'd be like, "You can't guard Jalen Brunson."
That definitely would get under their skin. Oh god! All right, well,
I'll be there with Spike Lee, and I'll be dapping up Tyler Kolek and yelling "White boy" on TV.
So now you're just Timothy Chalamet. That's it. You just switch lives. Seattle, Timmy Chalamet.
I'll take it.
Oh my! All right, well, fellas, we made it. We're in the finals.
And my guess is we're probably tuning back in. We're probably recording again after the season, so
I know.
Aim for the bushes.
Heartbroken or not.
Fingers crossed. And let's just hope for some good, fun basketball and a Knicks championship because we're going to the parade.
Please.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Well, for those of you who made it this far, let's go Knicks. Thank you for tuning in, and join us next time.